Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. Here's a headline from the Daily Hodl indicating that $150 million worth of XRP has been on the move by whales, and this is happening at the same time where we saw another major move for Bitcoin, which does lead the market, from a little over $23,000 today to almost $24,000. And I think it's safe to say at this point that pretty much all the bears out there are in disbelief, which is a part of the psychology of market cycles, by the way. And doesn't mean we couldn't at all have a move to the downside, but I look at things in terms of probabilities rather than absolutes in most instances when it comes to price action. And in terms of probability, to the upside. And there's so much activity surrounding XRP also. In fact, when Bitcoin had a major move today, a big chunk of it, XRP had an in-kind move around that same time period. So it is good to see that, frankly, the entire asset class just continues to move in tandem. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby, and just for fun. As I record this video, XRP's at 41 cents, Bitcoin's at $23,750, but I'll note that the 24-hour high was $23,962, so knocking on 24K's door. You've got the market cap for the asset class at almost $1.1 trillion at this point, and Bitcoin dominance at 41.87%. And by the way, and I love this metric, especially now. I mean, I think it's worth tracking this just so you can get a feel for how the typical retail speculator out there is feeling, because understand it's not just about understanding their emotions for the sake of it. It's understanding that a lot of these people that feel these emotions, they make important financial decisions based on their feels rather than logic and data and common damn sense, frankly. But look at where we're at right now. Continuing to climb further into greed. We are at 61 out of 100 in the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. Absolutely astonishing. I know just a couple months ago, it was the end of the world and Bitcoin's going to 12,000 or 10,000 or who knows, maybe even lower. Maybe even zero, who knows? My gosh, scare, feels. Except for that's not what's happening, is it? It does make you kind of wonder, though. Had it been the case that FTX was not an outright scam, had it not been a Ponzi scheme, and we didn't see that capitulation down to, roughly 15,500 for Bitcoin, and wherever XRP got, I can't remember if it was around 30 cents or so. If not for that, I do wonder how low would we have gone? Or I mean, would we just been reversing to the upside a little bit sooner? I don't know. We'll never know for sure. But either way, I'm just saying, like, after that capitulation event, to see the quick move to the upside after people were calling it, as I noted yesterday in a video, people are saying, oh man, we're not going to recover from this for 5 to 10 years. And I'm just like, you sure about that, son? Because it took about 6 weeks and we started rocketing. Okay, after 6 weeks roughly, we started the move to the upside. Now it's been another few weeks. We're at the end of several weeks, actually, at this point, I suppose. We're at the end of January. Absolutely incredible. And the bears are hiding now. Here is a comical tweet from Ben Armstrong, aka BitBoy Crypto. He wrote, "We are now starting to see the liquidation of bearish crypto Twitter accounts, LMAO." And then he wrote that the rest of his tweet is just like a faux, crypto trader account would have said, "Oh, I'm leaving Twitter for a while. No, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I told you 100% the price is going to $12,000, and now it clearly is not." And so, upon reading that, I had an inkling for who Ben Armstrong might have been talking about. And admittedly, I don't technically know for sure, but I'm wondering if it's this guy. Very popular chart analyst, Il Capo, who has 713,000 followers on Twitter. And I will say, the price target that he was calling for back in May of last year, before the Terra collapse, Luna collapse, before that happened, he was calling for, I can't remember the exact figure. I mean, it may have been, I admittedly could be way off, but it may have been something like $20,000. I can't remember where we were at before that. I can't remember if we were still hovering around $30,000 Bitcoin, but whatever the target was, the point is, it was dramatically to the downside, and there weren't a ton of people necessarily calling for it. There were some, and I highlighted at the time, of course. But he ended up being right, and I highlighted him at the time because I was like, well, folks, he was right, but I had this little asterisk by it. Some of you listening back then may recall. I said, look, okay, so he was right, but here's the thing. uh, he's the price went where he was predicting, but not for a reason he was predicting. He was saying it's in the charts, you can see it, it's going to happen outside, independently of anything else that may happen from a fundamental perspective. He didn't predict that Luna was going to zero. He didn't predict, the crypto contagion spreading from that point. He just said, here's where I think Bitcoin's going, here are my reasons. And yeah, it hit that level and he got a lot of credit. And hey, fine, credit where it's due. But I even said it at the time multiple times. I was like, okay, but it happened because of a wild card event. Like, I'm okay. So I was obviously a little bit skeptical then, but anyway, so he's been tweeting ever since then, nothing but doomsday, bearish type of stuff. And I've highlighted him, over time from time to time over this, well, ever since that particular cop started, and even a bit before that. But what's interesting is that he went from being a person that would tweet multiple things having to do with Bitcoin and crypto multiple times per day to vanishing for over a week at this point until today, January 20th. Oh, by the way, okay, so technically it's not today anymore. So it's 12:35 a.m., but it doesn't count until the next day until I go to sleep. So I'm still going to say today, even though it's January 30th, technically as I'm recording this. But he put this tweet after a week of just vanishing. And he wrote, which was not characteristic of him, and he's been calling for, even after we started to see the move this month to the upside, he's been saying, yeah, it's a bull trap. We're going to see Bitcoin even lower, going down to $12,000. And if he is right, I will give credit where it's due. I will pull him back on the channel, be like, hey, he was right, credit where it's due. But right now, the reason he's getting criticized so heavily is because it's increasingly becoming more probable that he's actually wrong, especially when you see the move that we've seen and it's been sustained, the force with which it's all come here. And he just vanished. So that doesn't look good anyway. But here's what he tweeted out. He said, for those wondering, I'm totally fine. Just disconnecting from all the Twitter negativity and focusing on charts / enjoying life. There's no point tweeting when there's no change. And yes, still short and strong, interesting week ahead. And so there you go. I mean, if he's right, again, I'll still highlight that because I don't really actually have a dog in the fight. I don't pretend to know where price is going here. And I'm not a chart analyst. But it's just the doomsday stuff. Like I saw this crap when Bitcoin is at $3,200. Oh, it's going to $1,000 back in 2018. And this year, I'm not. Well, I don't make price predictions anyway, but I'm not predicting certainly that we're going to have a dramatically wild positive year in 2023. Though I'll be happy if that happens too. I'm not convinced of that either. I'm actually not. I'm not convinced we're going to have that. If anything, I'm more convinced that we'll have something which I'll talk about. I'm going to get to it just a minute or two in this video, but it's more so like, yes, a trend upward to whatever degree in 2023, but new highs this year. I mean, maybe they happen, but what do we normally see after major capitulation years like we had in 2018? Well, you see a sideways year the following, like 2019 was, of accumulation. And so even if you miss the most recent lows of Bitcoin around 15,500, however low XRP got, and everything was down, obviously. Even if you miss that, you don't have to beat yourself up or anything like that. I was kind of hoping in a way that things would go lower. Like, yeah, it would harm my net worth if things go lower, but I was like, I still have all this cash and I only deployed part of it. So like, I wouldn't be sad if it does that. But look, even if you miss that, the levels that we're at right now, if we're indeed starting this point where we're trending back to the upside, well, hell, look at 2019 as a roadmap. It's like, even if you're buying now, and I'm not telling you to buy or sell or hold, I'm just sharing ideas and things that I've been thinking about. Even if that's the case, like these levels right now are going to look dirt cheap because eventually Bitcoin, of course, which always leads the market, in terms of the biggest bull moves, it's going to hit it. It's going to start rocking it out of here. It's going to hit a new all-time high. It's going to go into crazy price discovery. I don't know to what level it's going to get. And then the rest of crypto follows. And then the real life-changing wealth is made in altcoins, and I think XRP is going to be a major part of that. But I say that all to make the point that even if you miss some of the recent lows, even if you were one of the people that thought it was going to go lower, well, that's fine because none of us know. But I don't feel like just because price went up that necessarily it's some sort of bad time to buy. It's just like at this point we're splitting hairs. Because look, if Bitcoin goes to $100,000, $200,000, well, I mean, if you bought it at 15,500 or 23 or 24,000, by the time it gets to those higher levels, it's going to be like, And you can't time markets. You never can. You can never buy the perfect bottom. You can never sell the tippy top. It's substantially less than 1% of humans that happen to do that. And when they do, it's by chance anyway. It's like, who cares? But then there was also this from Chart Analyst Income Sharks. He said, Bitcoin, the largest, scariest red candle in history is when you buy, not when you sell. And as he wrote that, he was sharing one of his own tweets from November 9th, which you'll recall is right as FTX was collapsing. Very scary. And if you go back to listen to my videos where I was talking about price at the time, I said, yeah, I'm excited and happy to buy. And I made some of the biggest purchases in crypto that I ever did, because when there's a major capitulation event like that, history tells me, as everybody's fleeing because it's an emotional decision, it's typically the wrong decision. And so I laid down some serious money, what to me, subjectively serious money, and made some of the largest individual crypto purchases of my entire life. Not the very largest ones, but not far off, to be honest with you. They're pretty big ones. And so he shared this tweet from November 9th in which he wrote, Bitcoin, largest sell-off candle in Coinbase history. I'm buying some more at $16,000. Don't have much left to dollar cost average, but I'm going to buy after a major capitulation event. Spot on, my friends. And then there was this from chart analyst Kaleo, who shared the following with his 560,000 followers. He wrote, this is your daily reminder that $30,000 Bitcoin is a magnet. If we're being honest, though, $40,000 plus is too. And so maybe they're right, maybe they're not. But directionally, what does it make sense to expect for 2023? Well, I still anticipate, outside of a wildcard event, whatever it is, even if we don't see wild euphoric highs, better than last year. I think it's fair to suspect that that's what's more probable, right? But is it going to be mostly sideways? Well, maybe, but even if it's sideways, it doesn't mean it won't be a bit higher than it is right now, which is the point of this article from the Daily Huddle. It's titled, Analyst Benjamin Cowen, or maybe it's Cohen, I'm not sure how it's pronounced actually, predicts long year for Bitcoin. Here's what he means. Widely followed crypto analyst Benjamin Cohen, I guess I'll go with Cohen, why the hell not? Make your name easier for me to instantly know upon reading. Says that the historical price movement of Bitcoin suggests that the top crypto asset will likely have a long year in 2023. In a new video, Benjamin tells his 783,000 YouTube subscribers that in the past cycles, Bitcoin traded in a wide range following a bear market. Yeah, exactly. So again, back then I didn't know. I'm not pretending to know now, but that's why my strategy for me is the perfect investment strategy. I buy, I've done dollar cost averaging in, I buy after capitulation events, and then I do nothing. And one day I anticipate I'm going to be enticed to sell a ton of my crypto, if not all of it. And there you go. And by the way, even if I do sell all of my crypto, it doesn't mean I wouldn't in the future jump back in. It's more like if I'm sufficiently enticed, we have insane prices. It's like, I'm going to take that risk off the table and take some profit. Because I've been in this for over half a decade and I have never exited to United States dollars after investing. But it is paying off. So in terms of like what it's worth, even at these lower levels compared to what I put in, yeah. And I am down on some coins for sure. But like the whole ball of wax, looking pretty good, folks. Look, I'm not crying. I'm definitely not crying here. But anyway, so here's a quote from him. I want to remind people that, and this is my own experience, I've said this many times, the year after the bear market year is often a sideways year. So far, that's not been the case. It's mainly just been up, end quote. But the analyst says that while Bitcoin may appear to have significant strength, the king crypto may actually be in the midst of setting up a wide sideways range as a base. And I'll pause note, there are tons of analysts that I follow and respect, and I have been highlighting some of them recently, even more recent YouTube videos where I'm talking about price. They think, yeah, we're probably going to go up a bit higher, but not in a straight line forever. And they're thinking, okay, so even if we hit some of these levels that sound really good considering where we've been in recent months, you go back up, go back down, because you're just going to have retracements, of course. But anyway, here's another quote from him. When we say sideways year, that doesn't mean you're not going to go up. In fact, you are likely going to go up, and you are likely going to go down. In 2015, we saw 2 rallies to the upside, and then we finally got a third one that was actually real. In 2019, we had a massive rally, and then a massive dump, and then we got the real rally that took us to new highs, end quote. Yeah, so that's all true. And then as another friendly reminder, in terms of probability, and this is true stocks, when you have a massive down year like we saw in 2022, it's true for stocks and crypto. Well, if you look on the stock side specifically, because I'm just talking about using data to just share some ideas about what might be most probable. The following years, after major capitulation years, like we just saw, it's much more probable that you see a move to the upside. Or so even if you're like quote unquote ranging sideways, it doesn't mean it wouldn't be to some degree at least a bit higher. But anyway, piece continues. Should Bitcoin follow the previous trends? Cowan says that 2023 will possibly be a long year for the leading crypto asset by market cap. He says investors could make use of this period to increase their Bitcoin holdings. Quote, so while I know everyone's excited and I don't want to rain on anyone's parade per se, I would still think that the most likely outcome for this year is that it's just going to be a long year for Bitcoin to sort of build out a base. You could think of it as an accumulation year to build out a base and to hopefully have enough strength to really push higher, especially whenever the Fed goes back to looser monetary policy, end quote. Yeah, and so I talked about that heavily in a video, well, actually over the last couple days in particular, so I don't want to go into the Fed stuff again today, other than to note that, yes, that does make sense. And the Fed, in terms of this idea, everybody keeps using the word pivots, now I am too, but they are. They're going to pivot, loosen the monetary policy. Well, we've already seen that, frankly. I mean, even like I think I said this literally just yesterday. In December, we saw that, yes, fine, increase the interest rate to 50 basis points, but the previous hike was 75 basis points. So even if we don't see push down to say, 25 basis points, so say it's another 50 basis points, okay, well, so what? Eventually, at some point, you're going to see that direction to the downside continue because you're seeing month-to-month inflation not be so bad. You're seeing year-over-year inflation still look bad, but does that surprise anybody? It was 2022 when all the action from the Fed started to be implemented in terms of rate hikes. So that shouldn't be surprising at all. If anything, it shows that the intended result, which was to slow the economy effectively, certainly encourage people to take fewer loans. Like, well, that's working. Like it's doing what they were expecting it to do, and why wouldn't it do that? So we're going to see what happens, but that in conjunction with the fact that we just went through a terrible year, and don't forget, if you're an XRP holder, and I'm willing to bet you are if you're listening to me, you know my favorite crypto, it's XRP. Don't forget, the SEC v. Ripple case is ending this year too. And I'm very optimistic. I know we could get a better ruling, but I'm very optimistic that we won't. And for a number of reasons I've been talking about. And I don't want to segue into that for this video, but just think about all this. So you've got the Fed, presumably, they'll continue to loosen monetary policy. We just came off of a terrible year in 2022, and you typically don't back-to-back bad years. And then everything with the SEC ending with Ripple, which should provide clarity for XRP holders. Can you imagine the rally? There's so many reasons to be optimistic. It's an incredible time to be in crypto. And it's still real. I know I've been in this over half a decade, but the asset class is only 14 damn years old, man. Like, it's early days still. So I'm sure another decade out from now, we'll be looking back on these days in some ways with fondness, in some ways we'll be like, that damn SEC and Kim Jong-Gensler and all that crap, fine. But this is the time. This is the time where people make the moves they need to make so that they achieve life-changing wealth, because it's a real thing. It's a very real thing. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.